Welcome to M Squared. We're here with our lovely guest, Rossella Rago. We're here with Anthony Rappaciulo from prcision and Mike Bloomfield from Techie Geek.
Good afternoon.
So welcome. Thank you for coming and joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We have totally interesting story and something unique and different than we've had in the past couple of episodes with you being a food influencer and being a published author and things like that. So we're really interested to really kind of dig in and hear your story. But before we get to that, we typically bounce around a couple different ideas about things that are happening. Rap has his typical rant.
Rant.
I like how
Now, for today's Raps Rant.
I like the intro more than the content.
Raps Rant.
Is that wrong?
Raps Rant.
Checking your phone.
Raps Rant.
It's good. How long do we have? Have we got more time? Perfect.
He
Love
needs
the
that
intro.
last
he
note.
made that.
He made that.
Wow.
With his feet, his hands, his head, every instrument he owns.
So what are we talking
Shout
about?
out.
What do
so,
we got?
So today's Raps Rant is about pay to play with Instagram, and we have an influencer with us. So I'm sure she has some better insight than we may have. But as you may know, Meta has recently decided that they're going to introduce a pay to play monthly plan, both for Instagram and for Facebook. I think it's $11, $12 a month.
It's
Ro will
14.
correct me. I was going to say, I know you'll correct me.
It's $14.99.
But basically, when you pay this fee, you're going to get the blue check mark that you used to have to inherit or earn. And you're also going to, when you read what's included, it says you will have more reach. It says you will grow your followers. So basically, content creators like us here and like Ro right here, who have been doing content creation, doing a great job, and being awarded based on their merit and their production and quality of content. Now you could have the best production, the best content, but Instagram and Facebook are saying, well, it doesn't matter what the content is. If you don't pay us, you're not going to get influencers or followers.
This also comes on the heels of Instagram and of Meta removing their bonus program, though.
So talk to us about that too.
Well,
you know more than we do.
that was like a big punch in the brajol, like
Really?
to a lot of people. And first of all, thank you guys for having me, for calling. I guess Meals by Cooge wasn't available, and like so here I am.
You were hand selected, believe me.
Right. No, Danny's a lovely young man.
Is she talking about you?
No, definitely not this.
Oh, different
Let's talk
Danny.
about Coach.
The meal's cool.
Do you have Instagram?
No.
Do you go on it?
No.
Have you ever
You're
had
the
a-
tech geek? You
Yeah,
don't
I'm
have...
the techie geek.
Yeah, so
I watch. Do you watch Linus Tech Tips?
do I look like I watch Linus Tech?
Do I look like I know Dan? Actually, I do.
You
I do look like I
absolutely
know.
do.
Have you ever had a bacon, egg, and cheese?
Of course.
There you go.
Come on.
Wow.
So they said, okay, we're gonna stop the bonus program, which is the only reason that a lot of people have been creating reels. Like in the past few years, I think I can't remember when reels became a thing, but there was a certain point where Instagram first said, you need to make reels. No more photos. Don't post the photo because we're not going to show it to anybody.
I think it was 20. I think it was 2020.
It was, yeah, it was
And I think
around
it was on the heels of Snapchat. Correct me
of
if I'm wrong.
TikTok because TikTok blew up during the pandemic. Then Facebook wanted to compete with TikTok. So they're like, make reels or we're going to hurt your family.
Right.
And like everybody just started making reels. And to encourage people to make more reels, they're like, okay, we're going to start paying you for reels, for the views on your reels. So you had to be invited into that program. It was easier than getting a blue check. Getting a blue check was impossible. I bought it. I drank the Kool-Aid.
There you go.
I
It's
had
all right.
to. And you don't.
We don't judge.
You don't get anything. Okay?
No, it doesn't do it. It just makes you feel good.
You get ukats when
You
you,
get
pay
a,
that $14.
You get a blue check.
You
It
get
makes
a
you
blue
feel
check.
great.
You could go to Twitter and get a blue check. What's it? $7 a month?
$8 a month. I think.
There's nothing. What I do like about it is that I think it leveled the playing field for a lot of influencers, because like it used to be this thing where if you didn't have a blue check, that
You were no good.
yeah, like who the hell are you? You
Right.
don't even have a blue check. Like,
Right.
well, but your content could be amazing. Or there used to be certain benchmarks in Instagram that people would have to hit to be taken seriously, like 100,000 followers. That's not even it anymore. You have to have like 200,000 followers to really be serious.
Right.
To be a serious for people to think that you have an influence, a real influence. And it like really changed the way we think about how many followers is enough to create an influence. And I mean, I've been doing this since 2009, and I think, a smaller following, depending on what you want to do, is almost better and more concentrated for certain things. So is it good? Now everybody just has, it was a great equalizer, but also they took a lot of people's, revenue earning abilities away. And it really upset a lot of people who were starting to rely on that amount of money.
What about the actual content?
That's the natural progression of content, right? And platforms that have content in them is that they figure out how to monetize themselves, and then they'll say whatever they want or they'll do whatever they want. And if you want to get your message across the way that you want it, it becomes sponsored content.
But, I probably shouldn't say this because of the nature of what I
Say
do.
it now.
But
Say it here, first time.
to me, unless you're monetizing your content in some kind of way outside of social media, you're in trouble because it's just not sustainable. You figure it out and then they take it away. It could change at any moment. You're at the mercy of Meta and they can change the rules whenever they want, and they do.
Right. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, and the problem becomes, and we've talked about it on others, not only can they change the game and change the rules, and they have the right to do that because you're on their platform. Let's be real, you're the influencer, but you're there because of them, and they could change it as quickly or ban you, right? You go and say the wrong thing, and next thing you know, you could be demonetized and off the platform.
You could be demonetized for anything at any moment.
We had Shaolin's Funny Guy. You follow him? Shaolin's Funny Guy. He's got a lot of followers, big Staten Island brand, big name, and they turned him off. And he told us they turned him off. Instagram shut him down.
Yeah, because he put a
hurt him.
picture, because he did, I think it was a reel with his son in the bathtub, and they said it was having a child.
But to your point,
naked.
that put a damper on his followings and his earnings, and it hurt him.
Yeah.
And just because they had a whim.
They're the mafia. What do you want?
Well, a new
Meta
form of
Mafia.
it.
Besides
Yeah, the
that, I
Meta
mean,
Mafia.
outside of that, right? You're moving on to TikTok and other things. We've said it a handful of times. Like we're the guinea pigs of TikTok. We're the only country being monetized by them, and it's people that are creating content that then people are going and watching and interacting with what they're learning from. So we're literally feeding that model and that beast of how other people are monetizing. People might get paid to create content, but the people that care about that brand or whatever, they're just making money for themselves.
So the way it works is it's an ecosystem, right? So a brand, let's say, Coca-Cola pays me $1,000 to make this video. But if, Instagram just, decides that they don't want to show people my content, that deal with Coca-Cola is not going to come around again.
Right.
Because my views are crappy. My reach is bad. My engagement is not good. So it's not just about, one number in one place. You have to really make sure that it's going 360. Otherwise, you're in a lot of trouble.
So which platform are you seeing the most success from right now?
Ooh, I mean, it's interesting because I kind of had a really big growth period over the summer on Instagram.
Okay.
I grew like 50,000 followers.
Wow.
Like really fast in a matter of maybe 60 days, not even. Considering that I've been building that first 50 since 2012, that was really, really quick. And that was because I was creating reels.
And was that because of a viral piece of content that just put you off the charts?
You
or
know,
was it because of consistency? Or
I think it was probably a few different things, but I think I don't know that it was because my content got necessarily so much better. I think it definitely got a little bit better and a little bit different. And I was presenting myself differently. But I just think that the algorithm liked me for as long as it did. And
That's
it
gonna be the caption.
showed people my stuff. It just decided.
I think that's a pretty good segue into what this podcast is really about, right? We're talking about personal brands, being able to grow your brand in the market and what your journey was to be able to get there. So we'd love to hear a little bit about your background, your story, what your brand is. This is the Cooking with Nonna on Sunday dinners this is your newest cookbook that's out, and it's gorgeous. It's
Thank
a beautiful
you.
brand. Your grandma's with you in here on it. Tell us a little bit
it's
about
not grandma, it's Nonna.
No.
Irish.
He's Irish.
He don't know. He's Irish.
it. My kid's half a meatball. I get it. Like, he calls
half a meatball.
His kid. He calls his.
What's the
grandmother
other
Nonna.
half? A boiled potato?
That's right. Yes, boiled and burnt.
Wow, meatball's so much cuter. Like, I mean,
That's right. It's Gaelic and garlic.
Gaelic
Gaelic and garlic. I like that. Let's give you another title, captions right here, Gaelic and Garlic.
So I started Cooking with Nonna in 2009, and which is the dawn of like content creation.
Sure.
It's like the dinosaurs where the God created the earth and he created YouTube, and there were very few people on YouTube at that time doing food content, and especially if you were doing Italian food content, you didn't look like me, you didn't sound like me, you were probably a restaurant chef or a trained chef. You weren't some banana who learned how to cook in her grandma's basement.
But that's what it needs to be.
Right. But
Relatable.
So what was your first platform?
So the story is kind of interesting because I was at St. John's University and I was in the School of Education there. I was studying to become an Italian teacher because Italian's my first language. Actually, I didn't learn English here until I was 5. Okay. And, that was just what all the girls in my neighborhood did with themselves when you just had no idea what the hell to do. So I was studying to be a teacher. It wasn't really my thing. And I think my dad, of all people, noticed it. My dad was a telecommunications executive for a long time. And I was living with my Nonna in the basement in our house in Brooklyn because nice Italian girls are not allowed to dorm.
Okay.
Back then, they weren't.
Still a true story today.
Yeah. And so my parents lived in New Jersey, so I moved back to Brooklyn to live with Nonna. And like we shared a bedroom for 4 years, which was, I've seen things that you can't. Like you'd be like taking a shower and she'd just like open the curtain and be like, "What do you want to eat today?" And I'm like, "Can we have one conversation where I'm not naked?" Like just one. That's all I
I
want.
thought that was just Mike. No.
No, they have no boundaries. I mean,
No.
They probably lived across the street from each other too.
well, my Nonna's the oldest of 7. Like, there's 9 people in your house. There's no privacy.
No.
She's not used to that. So one night, my father comes over for dinner, and he's talking to me about, my life. And he's like, "Mo, what do you want to do with your life? Because you're going to be a terrible teacher. We all know."
Confidence.
The confidence.
And I'm like,
True Italian father, though.
wow, like you all know? Did you have a summit and discuss this? I mean, that's great. And he's like, "Mo, what do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I want to have a cooking show one day. That's the greatest job in the world." And he thought it was funny. And then he looked at my Nonna, who was like cleaning up after dinner, and he's like, "You know what? We should call it Cooking with Nonna." Nice. So my dad, Vito, essentially created
the brand. That's awesome.
A week later, he bought the web domain cookingwithnonna.com, and he sent me an email. He's like, "Look at this," and I was like, "Great. What are we doing?" And a week after that, he actually built the island that I used to cook on. If you look at my early YouTube videos, please don't look at it because I had purple eyeshadow. But he built this roll-away island that would roll into our kitchen in New Jersey and then roll into the big room that when we weren't using it. It had a stove on it. It had lots of like storage underneath. And he was so proud of this that I was like, shit, I guess we gotta make a show now. I was like, and we had no idea what we were doing. And mind you, at this time, you could not just like film something with your phone.
No,
Like
this
I
is
had
true.
a
This was on,
razor.
A razor. Remember the razor phone? The
This is
Vader
when,
phone.
right? This is when like Emerald was at his peak, right?
Yeah,
like
like-
they had full production
Bam.
studios and like
Right.
food was getting exciting, but it was still a major production to put on.
I hired a production company. I hired the audiovisual department of Seton Hall University to shoot the first episodes, the first seasons. Then I started finding Nonna, and my mother's a big chiacchierone, so she would just call her friends up and be like,
She talks a lot, dude.
"You want to be on a show?" My mother's an actress.
Okay.
Like from Italy, and she does like film and TV here, and so she's a very big personality. And she was like head of casting. And every Sunday, I started filming episodes of Cooking with Nonna. And, at first, they were disastrous. I look back and I cringe.
But that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, things evolve. And,
don't know.
I did that for years, honestly, before anybody gave a crap about what I was doing. I was very young. I was 22. And I left out a really good part. This is the good story. You want the story?
I do.
I want it.
So I was planning to release these episodes. I had filmed a few of them. It was 2008 at this point when I was like prepping everything. I was getting ready. And I went to a psychic in the West Village.
Italians aren't allowed to go to psychics.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know if you heard that.
No, we are.
I don't know. My Nonna said no.
What?
Just saying. Just saying.
Please. She probably been to psychics before.
saying.
I'm just saying. Fine.
So where in the village? Where,
This guy-
You're on Bleecker Street?
No, it was on Grove Street, and he passed away now, but he was a very famous psychic. If you have a friend who's into psychic, she's heard of this psychic. His name was Raymond, and
No last name,
Raymond Perot.
just Raymond.
No, he was very well known, and like everybody and their mother's been to Raymond. So I went to Raymond. I showed him my business card because now I had a logo and stuff. And he goes to me, "In 1 year, you're gonna be on the Food Network." And I was like, "All right, get out of here! Like, come on, this fucking guy! Like, give me my money back."
Yeah.
So a few months go by, and I was in a restaurant in Brooklyn. My father was so proud. We made like all this, like we made these cards. You used to have to like make like physical cards and stuff with like a recipe on it, with like a picture of me with a focaccia, like, you know, we were really selling it. And he put one on all the plate settings at the restaurant. And a week later, we got an email from one of the people that saw my card and said the Food Network is casting for this show called 24-Hour Restaurant Battle. They want mothers and daughters or grandmothers and granddaughters. So I call up this casting director and I'm like, I got both. They're both crazy. You're gonna love them. Like, and we went in for a taped audition and stuff. And my mother and my grandmother started fighting about something. They loved us. They actually cast us on the show, and they had the other team find somebody else so that they could make one episode with teams of 3, because every other episode was teams of 2. So I had 24 hours to conceive an Italian restaurant, build it out, shop for all the food, prep, cook, and serve 2 seatings of 50 people in 24 hours.
Now, have you ever done anything of that scale?
No.
Regular Sunday did is what, 20 people?
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's 20. But this was like, it wasn't actually possible. I mean,
Right.
and then at the end, whoever wins, there's 3 judges, and they both eat it at and whoever wins $10,000 in seed money to like start their own restaurant, which is funny.
Well, but back then it wasn't. That's 10 grand's 10 grand.
You buy the sign for 10 grand.
Wow.
But, I mean, I don't know.
How's
But
the restaurant?
We did this show, and I took it so seriously. I made a menu that was a total disaster. It was not executable. They gave me a sous chef, but then it was like their first season of the show, so I don't think the producers knew what they were doing at the time. And they were like, "Here's your sous chef. You're not allowed to talk to him." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's not mic'd. You can't talk to him. And I was like, what am I supposed to, sign language? What do you want me to do? Write him notes? Like, I can't. So that was a disaster. I knew I was like, I'd screwed it all up. The day that we were supposed to like do the service, because they would stop the clock, you know, for us to go to sleep. You know,
I mean, that's nice of them.
yeah, that was nice. Then, you know, they do a good night shot. You put your pajamas on. They want to see you close the lights.
Right.
They want to see you turn them on.
Need everything.
We were totally sleep deprived. I don't think we ate at all. I was losing my mind. And the day of the service, I was like holding a big coffee like this, and the guy on the other team, like, they were nice people. They were like, "Oh, you excited, bro?" And I was like, and they're like, "Hey, you look all funny." And I was like, I passed out.
On the spot.
Passed out. Coffee's everywhere. The ambulance comes.
Are there bloopers of this
No,
anywhere?
I
Come
think
on,
they
there's
were.
no archive
They
of
were
this
recording
anywhere?
sounds, but they were not recording video yet.
You know what we
So
could have done with that footage?
I'm
With
in
any
the
of that?
back of an ambulance, and this guy who works for Food Network is screaming at me, "You a grown ass woman, you better get your shit together. Otherwise, we gonna take you to the hospital. You're gonna get a psychiatric evaluation." I was having a panic attack. This does not make me calm down. So they took me to the hospital. They found out I was severely dehydrated. Like severe, like I was gonna die. So I bet you anything those producers called corporate and they're like, "Can she sue?" Yes, okay. Like,
Yeah.
so they were like, "Don't worry, we're gonna pause and we're gonna take 2 weeks, and then in 2 weeks we would come back and we're gonna finish the show. It's gonna be great." In retrospect, should I have been worried? Because it's really a very bad episode if the team with the 80-year-old Nonna loses, right? It's not good TV that Nonna loses. Like,
Right.
does all this work slave labor for 2 days, and then, like, you know, she loses. Like,
Right.
that's a terrible show. I was gonna win, and I did win.
There you go.
There you go.
All that for nothing.
Did you start the restaurant with $10,000?
What'd you do with the $10,000?
Oh God.
Just went back to the psychic.
I definitely no. Oh, you know what I did
She
with
did.
part
Look,
of it?
she
I bought
did.
my first pair of Louboutins. I'm not gonna lie.
There you
Nice.
go.
That's definitely an investment in a restaurant.
Wait, you earned that.
Invested
though.
in-
I
Yeah,
could have
that's a-
lied. I could have lied about that. I did. I bought my first pair
That's
of
an
Louboutins.
investment, though.
I still
That's-
have them.
You're over here. You earned it. How much did you give to your Nonna and your mom?
Oh, I gave Nonna. But like
I gave
Nonna.
Nonna.
But
Nonna,
then,
here's a
Nonna
meal
got
for
a
the
little.
but what do
day.
you think? Nonna gave it back to me because she gave me like $100 on my birthday. Ever since then, so I got it all back anyway.
It all comes back.
Yeah, like of course I gave it. It's like here you go. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about her. Where are you guys from?
So, wait, just to redirect, The Psychic was right. A year late, exactly 1 year later, the episode aired on the Food Network.
Okay.
We got to search it up.
It was a year to the date.
What was it called?
Pretty much, because it was June 2008, and it went on the air July 2009. So he was right.
In fairness, he didn't say it was going to be completely successful. He just said you'd be on the show.
He didn't say I was gonna like have my own show.
Right,
He
right.
didn't say,
He was
oh,
right.
like you're the next Jada. Like he said you're gonna be on there. I was.
Guy's
gotta
right.
say.
Guy's right.
It was worth $100.
That was it.
Well,
That's
you
not
won.
bad.
I invest 100 for
What the
10
hell?
grand.
Yeah.
Listen,
Every day.
things happen for a reason, right?
So after we started doing episodes of Cooking with Nonna, and nobody really, the producers didn't exactly come knocking for me. I went to a bunch of meetings with different agents, managers. Everyone's a producer. I was pitched a lot of times, but the feedback that I was getting in the very beginning was that nobody wants to watch the Marissa Tomei cooking show. And so, because
Are they crazy?
like
My
I
biological clock.
said, nobody looked like me at the time on Food Network. Nobody talked like me. Nobody had my lack of credentials. So, then that started the process of me kind of hiding who I really was for in my work, and I learned how to talk like this.
Put
with
on your boardroom
absolutely-
voice. Where is it?
Yeah, it's right here. So,
that's good.
okay, guys, so we're gonna we're gonna just roll out this pasta right here, and I wore like sweaters.
Your
like-
lips give it away, though, because your lips are too. See, when you talk regularly, your lips are moving. When you talk in your boardroom voice, they don't move.
They don't move
I had a boardroom voice, too, when I was in Manhattan.
like a
That's how I know.
ventriloquist.
Yeah.
They don't move.
Not as much.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just a smile.
yeah.
That's it.
But then one day I was just like, I don't care anymore. I'm just gonna sound how I sound.
And that's what worked.
Did you ever watch King of Queens? Did you see the episode where she had to get rid of her Italian accent?
Oh my god, I didn't.
She was working at the law firm and she didn't get the promotion, and they said it's because how you talk. She's like, how I talk, and
Yeah.
then she has to learn how to. It's a good. You should watch it. And then at the end, she's like, screw it.
I mean, I had a background in acting already, so like I understood what they were saying. I thought they were wrong. They were wrong, but we do things and we throw stuff at walls and we see if it works. And but eventually you get tired. You got to be yourself.
Absolutely.
And in 2016, I got offered my first book. I wasn't allowed to do it because I was locked up in a production company, in a deal with a production company that didn't want me to do it. I won't say who that was.
We hate them anyway, don't worry.
Right. No, they suck. But they were like, no, you can't do the book. It's a mistake. It's not a good publisher. You're going to regret it. And the way my book came about was really funny because my first editor, my first publisher, reached out to me on Facebook. And she was like, do you want to write a book? I thought you had a book. And I was like, I felt like the model that got discovered at McDonald's for that moment. I can't even tell. I was like, did I just get a book deal on Facebook? Did that just happen? And eventually my contract ran out. I got to do the book. It was actually one of the, for someone who was not on TV, we sold almost 50,000 copies of the first Sunday Cooking with Nonna cookbook.
Now, wait, hold on. Now, Mike is also a best-selling author. So how many books did you sell on your
I
Amazon
don't know. I'm
bestseller?
an Amazon bestseller. I have a publisher that did all that. I was a co-author, one of 12.
Oh, okay.
So
Why are you
Wow.
putting
congratulations
Why are you
to
putting
you.
yourself down? I was trying to.
But I
bring-
do have 3.
trying to
And
bring
my
value.
4th will be released in July.
See?
That was
You
bragging.
come
Real
to
deal.
Staten
Bragging.
Island, it's
Real
always
deal.
a
I was
contest.
trying.
It's a
with
one-upper.
people.
That
All
was
right,
bragging.
I only have 3. I'm sorry.
be fair,
let me
I was
leave
in the
with
New
my
York
3
Times
crappy
bestseller.
cookbooks.
Just saying.
To be
I
fair,
wrote a
you
chapter.
were not in the New York. Were you?
Of course I was.
I would
I
like
don't
to see
reveal
that.
things. I'll show it to you. It's all right.
I would like
Doesn't
to
matter.
see that. Now,
You're the only person on Staten Island who doesn't brag.
Oh no, I
Please,
brag, I
he
brag more
bragged.
than everybody. I'm the best guy in this room right now. What are you talking about?
that's true. But now, the real question, did they have you do the audiobook?
They didn't,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, should I be
That's interesting.
offended?
Yeah, I would be offended.
Or should you go back and do something new?
What a travesty.
Well, who did? Is there an audio version?
There isn't, and there kind of should be, because the thing about my books that are different than regular cookbooks is that they're not just recipes. For my first book, I profiled, I think it was 24 different grandmothers
Okay.
And I would go to their house. I would spend the whole day with them. I would cook with them. We would test the recipes together because like Nonna's measured everything in like espresso cups.
Right.
And then I would sit down with them and I would have my little recorder and I would just say like, tell me about your life. And they would tell me their story from, you know, if they were immigrants, they would tell me how they came to America and stuff. And I think that's what meant so much to them, that somebody just took an interest in it because they give so much to people, but nobody ever asked them about them. And I just thought that they were like these ordinary women who lived such extraordinary lives.
In 2016, that was a time where like food was super popular, right? It was one of the hottest topics out
That's
there.
when Gordon Ramsay became Superman.
But yeah, like
Yeah, like
Rocco
all
the
those-
Spirito.
I love
you know,
Rocco.
All those guys coming out with massive cookbooks at
Right.
that time and just putting tons of food content out there. So how did you stand out? Like, how did you?
I think it was the Nonna angle. And I think it was that, you know, I had 24 ladies who was so fiercely proud of this project. And by then we had actually built a very big platform on Facebook. So Facebook is arguably my biggest platform. We have over 700,000 followers today. And they are all organic. Like they're not fake. You know, I can tell when I can spot a Fugazi following.
Yes.
Sure.
Like from a mile away. So I'm really grateful for all the people that we have on Facebook. But at the time, I think when the first book came out, maybe we had around 56. We had a very large, impressive number on Facebook. Instagram, I was still pretty small. But it just got, everybody was so excited for the first book to come out. Everybody that had been following me, you know, for how many years at that point. It was such a cool story, too. And it was like, people really did understand that we were always a family business. Like everywhere I went for those years, I went with my father, who became like my dadager.
Shout out to Vito.
Kim Kardashian got a momager. I got a dadager named Vito.
There you go.
You know, and I think people really knew and understood me as like a very authentic person, as like a real Italian girl from a real Italian family, and I was just like them. You know, I make people very comfortable.
Yeah, you do. But
How'd you go from book to merch to now you sell? I mean, talk about that. So you were an influencer, you were doing cooking, you took Nonna, you threw cameras in her face, which we spoke about earlier, which I want you to touch on. But so now you got the vlog, you got this following, you have the Instagram. What was the catalyst that you said, hey, we could do a cookbook, and then hey, I can do clothing, and hey, I can do merch? And
So I can't remember now what came first. Had we already? My first product ever was the Nonna knife.
the Nonna knife.
The Nonna knife.
Makes sense.
Right. So if you're from an Italian-American family, every family has these knives, these crappy knives with like a plastic handle. They're
Terrible.
all different colors. No, they're not.
They're in my house. I hate them.
They are sharp for 30 years. Name a better, longer lasting product.
I'm a knife guy. I'm not going to name names, but I have a nice collection of knives. I like to cook, so
Yeah. You it's not a quality knife by any means. It's a pressed steel knife. It's not a forged steel knife, so it's very flexible and bendy. This is the one knife my Nonna has used to do everything, to clean vegetables, to make pasta, to
and she cuts like this.
Yeah. I
Into her
cut
fist,
I
yeah.
cut like that too. And you get them like
You have to.
6 for €2 at the market in Italy. They're very cheap. So we started importing them, and people loved them. And we kept them very inexpensive. We did the packaging with like me and Nonna on it and stuff.
And
And
you still buy them?
yeah, we still sell them to this day. We have knives and forks, and we have forks and spoons that go with the set now. We have polka dot ones. We have different colors. So I can't remember if at the time we were selling. I think we were already selling knives. Then I did a cheese grater. So if you have seen on my Instagram, my Nonna likes to use this cheese grater. She sings. She's very cute. And it's this like bowl with the grater on top. And that was my job when I was a kid, was grating into that. And people fell in love with this friggin' cheese grater. And it became like, I need that. So it was, me doing merch was almost accidental, because it was me like showcasing these things that I grew up with and seeing that the demand was there. So I'm very crafty when I release a new product now. I always try and like tease it or wear it or utilize it first, and to see if someone notices. And somebody always, and like I'm not great at a lot of things, honestly, but I am great at picking winners when it comes to products. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So we were selling my first book. Then we started selling knives, cheese graters. Then we were like, let's make a couple T-shirts, you know, something cute, because I never felt like Italian Americans were adequately represented from an apparel standpoint. You know, you can find things in a lot of different languages.
Cavaricci's, like you were talking about before.
But that was a long time ago.
Just kidding. Dan was
You
breaking
know?
chops before, so.
So I wanted to make something that said Bella or Amore or something cute, you know, even for little kids,
Yeah.
because, you know, come on, who's more extra than Italian Americans when it comes to dressing our kids
That's
up
it.
and stuff?
My wife, God love her.
Sure. You know, so I started to like develop a style also for myself. I wear a lot of animal prints, as you guys see, you know, and you kind of discover how many people are out there that share your aesthetic and want to dress like you and buy and use the things that you use. So I kind of just went along with what I saw people liked. There was a moment, a very pivotal moment in my online shop where I had gone from selling on the Cooking with Nonna website, where all my recipes were, to when I opened my Shopify website, bottegadellanonna.com. And that, my friends, was in 2019. I went to Italy. It ended up being my last culinary tour. And I was in Capri, and I gave my group, you know, free time. And I went on a walk by myself, and I saw this bracelet in the window. I can't believe I'm not wearing it. Oh, my God. I saw this bracelet in the window with a cornicello on it, with the horn, the Italian horn. It was just simple and cute, and I loved it. And I went inside. I bought one from the guy. It was like 20 euros. And I told him, I was like, you got to give me a penny back. And he goes, why? And I'm like, because my Nonna told me that when you buy one of these things for yourself, you can't pay for the whole thing. It's like when you buy knives. So you got to give me a penny back. And he laughed at me and he gave me my penny back. And I went to the piazza and I got like a spritz and I like put the bracelet on and I like, you know, took a picture and I posted it on the gram. And I actually wrote something like meaningful. Nobody gave a crap. Everybody was like, I will sell my kidney for that bracelet.
So you told the guy, I need 20,000 of these tomorrow.
No, I went home. I mean, I went home and didn't think, and I went to my phone. I was like, Dad, people want this bracelet. It's like, get out of here. You know, an Italian dad always has to like tell you your idea is horrible before he accepts that it's good. Now he trusts me a little more. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, this bracelet is, people want it. Like a lot of people. And he's like, what are we going to do? We're going to sell jewelry? It's not our thing. I'm like, you gotta listen to me, okay? I know I'm right about this. So I didn't even remember where I got the bracelet. I didn't save my receipt. And a girl was like, listen, if you draw me a map of where you got the bracelet, I'll send you the guy's business card. My sister's in Capri right now. So I drew this girl a map. I got the guy's info. I said, give me 200 bracelets. We sold all of them in 2 hours.
Nice.
That's crazy.
That's awesome.
And I mean, I can't even tell you how much we grossed in just 2 hours. And that started like the entire jewelry line. It really jump-started more apparel, more housewares. I got involved with a ceramic maker in Positano. I started selling food at one point. I can't even remember the year I started selling food, but we had our own pasta within a matter of like months. It just, when we saw the demand, you know, for it, we just went all in.
That's great.
So take it back. You make them give you a penny. Do you give everyone that buys one a penny?
Abso-friggin-lutely.
Do you?
I do. It comes in a little bag.
Okay.
And we staple it. And if they don't get the penny, God forbid, you know how many Joannes and Teresas have called and said, I don't see the penny in this box, you know, and they freak out because it really means something to them. Like, you know, our culture, it's a superstition of our culture. And while we are like mostly Italians are Catholic, you know, it is the argument of the sacred and the profane. So I know priests that believe in the Malocchio.
Yeah.
I know priests that go to psychics.
Yeah.
You know, there's a duality about the culture.
So, and you want to act like Mr. Italian. You're from Staten Island.
Go ahead.
You're Irish. I get Bensonhurst. I love Bensonhurst. I remember being a younger kid and my grandmother was on like Wollaston Court, 66th, 17th, and going to like Mother Sabaro. Mm-hmm. Like the original
on
Sabaros. Like
65th?
this isn't Sabaros like you think of in the
It's
mall.
not like a mall food court. No, that was the flagship.
Like
Okay.
this, like the dog had
I'm
a
thinking
dime.
like salads and
No.
sneeze
It-
guards.
no, it's a pork store.
Oh,
but
all right.
but Mother Sabara would sit at the desk and serve you. The dog had a diamond necklace that was probably $60,000. And you would sit there and you're like, I want my chicken parm here. And she'd be giving you prosciutto balls, rice balls. Like you're standing there, oh, have this while you wait. Like the best.
Bensonhurst, and in that time, and I was born in 1987, so I like to think that I lived in Bensonhurst at the tail end of the golden age of it.
The 18th Avenue Feast was still good back then.
Yeah, and when the neighborhood was, I mean, I miss Bensonhurst too because it's quite different now, but there was no warmer place than Bensonhurst, Brooklyn at that time. It was safe, if you were Italian.
Why was it safe?
I'm just saying.
It was protected.
No, not in that way. It was safe in the sense that, like, your kids played in the street freely. People were sitting outside on the stoops in lawn chairs.
Or hanging out. My grandmother would hang out the window from the
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
and scream, and they would literally have conversations
When the street
across
lights
the
go
courts.
off, they would yell. They started to
That's
come
when
home
you
for
had to go
dinner.
home.
But everybody looked out for you.
Oh yeah. I used to be able to go there, and I was probably 11 years old with my 8-year-old brother, and we would walk avenues, go to 18th Avenue, and head down, streets and streets.
What was
going
to happen? See,
Nothing back
Right,
then.
back then.
But now I wouldn't let my 6-year-old walk up the block alone.
that's true.
It's different. But it was amazing back then. Maple Lanes, everyone was bowling.
Yeah.
That's where I worked.
It was a real community,
bowling alley, Mike.
right? What are
That's right.
those?
Now it's now it's knocked down. It's not even there anymore. But everyone was in Bensonhurst. You were at Sparrows. You were at Da Vinci's.
You were at the Cotillion Terrace for every
Yep.
wedding,
That was a nice place. I used to go with. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you're talking about community. The cornerstone of the community is Nonna, right?
Yeah.
And tell us about her. I want to hear her story.
It was her 90th birthday, so happy
Yesterday,
birthday.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, she, we're lucky to have her at all because, like I said, she had some health issues back in October. She had a massive stroke. She had 2 brain surgeries in 48 hours. They really were telling us to be prepared for the worst. I don't know how many times in that blur of being in the hospital did I feel like I was saying goodbye to her for the last time, and she made it because she's a miracle. I don't know. So I'm so glad that she's still with us. She's not what she used to be. I mean, she's 90 years old.
Even without surgeries, 90's 90. It is what it is.
I'm
90's a
not
win.
the same
Right.
as I was 5 years ago. I can't imagine being 90. But she is just a very special human being. I think everybody sees someone that they love in my grandmother. She is just one of those unique human beings that you just look at her and you have this warm feeling whenever you're in her presence. She's adorable. She has,
How tall is she? I have to ask.
she's 5'1",
There you
maybe.
go. Perfect.
But they shrink.
But I mean,
Yeah, right.
No, she was
5'1".
she was never Heidi Klum. But
but no, these photos in this cookbook, she looks at you with such love.
Yeah.
I mean, you could see it. You feel it when you're looking through
Well,
these.
when you're Italian American, you either grew up with like a savage Nonna who threw a shoe at you, or I had the sweetest little Nonna, and I mean she had a really difficult life. She immigrated to Venezuela with her husband who was already there
From where?
from Italy. And because I actually dedicated this entire book to her because when I was putting Sunday dinners together, that my publisher wanted the model of the first 2 books, which was multiple Nonna, multiple stories. And since it was COVID, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't go visit these ladies. It's not a good time to visit the elderly. So I called up Adriana Trajani, who lovingly wrote my foreword. And I was like, I can't visit the Nonnas. And she goes, then you got to write about the one Nonna you can visit. And I was like, damn.
Brilliant.
The only one that matters.
Right. So not the only one that matters, but
Well, to us for this conversation.
she's the Beyonce
Right,
of the
that's it.
project.
She's the one.
So I decided to write her life story in a series of chapters that go along with the book. And I mean, the book starts with her on the pier in Venezuela waiting for my grandfather. And could you imagine that this guy just writes you? I mean, he's your husband, sure. But you haven't seen him in years. He really just comes to Italy to get you pregnant and then goes back. And then once in a while he writes you a letter. Could you imagine this guy just wrote you a letter and it's like, yeah, Romana, get on a boat and I'll see you in 2 weeks. you know,
It'll all work out.
It was
with
an actual
these-
boat back then.
with
Oh,
these,
yeah, it was a real boat.
with these two little kids, just get on the boat, it'll be fun. And like, I thought about her standing there at the pier waiting for him, and it's like 100 degrees there, and maybe like she hasn't heard from him in 2 weeks. Like, could you?
And it's hours.
But
It's not like he shot a text like
Yeah.
I'll be at the dock
No,
in
he
like
sent
20 minutes.
the carrier pigeon flew
Right.
across.
But
It's like, you know.
could you? But there must have been a moment where she was like, "Is he here?" Like,
It was,
Well, that's what
it was a
and-
romantic time.
and
Right.
two,
It
when
was
you-
a romantic
real.
time.
And when you think
Look,
about it
he's-
too, you're not going to the U.S. Like you're not going to like the land of promise.
No.
You're going to Venezuela.
You
You're
don't
leaving
speak the
Italy
language,
to
yeah.
go to Venezuela.
and my grandmother couldn't find him at first. My mother was 9 months old, and she had only seen pictures of her father, and she goes, "There he is."
Really?
Yeah. So she starts in Venezuela. My grandfather wasn't well. He had a stomach ulcer that he said, "Yeah, because you're not here cooking for me. I have a stomach
they
ulcer,"
all
you
say.
know. So he imported her to like cook him back to health. It didn't work. They went back to Italy. Unfortunately, he passed away. She was 29.
Wow.
And she decided to go to America where a lot of her siblings were. She's the oldest of 7. And everybody was starting to immigrate to Carroll Gardens. That was everyone from Mola di Bari started in Carroll Gardens. Then they spread out to Bensonhurst, then Staten Island, then Jersey.
Biggest, smallest little town in Italy.
Then Florida.
Right. Yes, then Florida. Then you die, you know. And then either you go back to Italy or you die in Florida. I don't know. So, yeah, she,
On her own.
on her own, actually, no, her trip to America, she brought my Uncle Joey with her because he was 10. He could work after school, and she had to go to work. So she left my mother in Italy for, 18 years?
So for her to be able to see you live the American dream has to be something that is indescribable to her, right? I mean, she could probably say to you what it means, but from a boat in Venezuela waiting to now being a part of what you've created with her, that is now a brand, that is now a following, that is now influencer, right? Like people look to you and to her. And that must be an incredible feeling to know that she's done it and also that you've been a part of that.
You know, I wish she still had the cognitive ability to really understand. But even when she did, even when she just never got it, and it never mattered to her.
Like when
She
you-
never gave herself airs about anything. Absolutely
She
not.
just wants to spend time with you.
She really, yeah, she would do. She did it for me.
Right.
That generation of people, like, and that's the love of a grandparent, and how it's different than the love of a parent. Like, she would do anything for me. I dragged her through that reality show. You think she wanted to do that? No, she did it for me. And for your grandchildren, you will do anything.
That's what I've heard. So my kids, Nonna, I've heard her say many times, like, I love my kids. I'm in love with your children.
Right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they get to say goodbye to them. They leave. They're not their problem.
They leave.
Now, but when you were out a restaurant, did people come over? No, I want to take photos
All
with
the
her.
time. They still do.
And does she did she love it, or was she like, why did they take my photo?
You know, she still kind of understands that she's famous.
She's famous.
Because
don't
last
care.
night it happened, and she will post. She doesn't. Oh yeah, okay. Like I think that's like a weird muscle memory for her. Like, oh wait, I'm famous. Okay, yeah, like of course. But she was always rooting for me and stuff, and always wanted me to succeed. You know, you talk about marketing. She used to stand on the corner of West 6th Street where we lived, and have these cards, my Cooking with Nonna cards, years and years and years ago. And people used to pass by, like, and she would be like, "Do you have a computer?" And if they said yes, she would give them one of the cards and be like, "Go look at Cook with Nonna. That's me." And
Who says no to that? Who could say no
like, right, she could sell she could sell ice cubes to Eskimos. I mean, for 100, all the little ads we do for like the products, it's like for $100 million, I could not find a better spokesperson. Not in any other bad way. It's just she's the most amazing human that can like really capture someone. I mean, if you met my Nonna, you'd melt. You'd give her all the money you have. You'd just
I already want to.
If she-
right,
that.
like.
We'll Venmo
take it all.
That's it.
This book it's gorgeous.
Thank you.
Like, this is a piece of artwork. If you get a chance to
nice.
actually take a look at this cookbook, like the photography, the layouts, but just the personalization that you gave this, china, right? The glassware, the tables, everything is so it's beautifully put together. But it's like, again, it's another thing that like leads back to the romance of what food is, what cooking is, what this family is, what your grandmother is. It's incredible.
So I got to art direct this cookbook, which is kind of a big deal because my first 2 books, I wasn't allowed to do that. We had to hire externally. And I always fought for that. I mean, as an author, as someone who never even thought they would go to college, never imagined in a million years that they would write cookbooks or any books at all, to be trusted by the people at Harper Horizon to just be on my own with this project was tremendous for me. And I take these things so seriously that I am so particular about all the crumbs and like, look, we put the cheese in an espresso cup, and I wanted every single photograph to feel like you're eating at your grandmother's house.
It resonates.
And all these little things that like I used to fight with like the art directors, and they're like, we don't need this. There's too many props. This is like, this is just so jarring. No one's gonna get it. And I was like, no, someone is gonna see that spoon and their Nonna had the same spoon, or they're gonna see the piece of a tablecloth and be like, I was like, I know my audience, I know my readers, and I know what moves them. And the thing that like, you have no idea what that like coffee cup is going to mean to someone.
My favorite placement is on the cover with the Ruffino bottle.
Yeah.
That's my absolute favorite.
Wait, so
I know it's real deal when I see that. 'Cause
there-
that's-
so this, I have like some BTS of like this part of the shoot. So this is when we shot the cover, the day we shot the cover. This set was built in a studio in Brooklyn. I wanted it to look like an Italian grandmother's house. These are both paintings that my mother made. This my Nonna when she was young, and like the family that I've been blessed with is so talented in so many ways. They're insane, the craziest people you have met. But my mother's an artist, so she was hand painting this lampshade. My father's hanging these with fishing wire. We just set this up we got all the saints, I wanted this to feel as organic as possible in the most inorganic place ever, like some hipster studio.
You're missing the plastic on the couch.
If I had the time to give me a break, okay? Like,
She got the slippers though.
yeah.
Which meal means the most to you, or do you have one?
So, okay. So
why?
in this book, let's find it.
Because there's got to be something that you as a child, it just, when you smelled it, it evoked emotion. Or when you walked in and Nonna was cooking it, you smiled.
What are these, sir?
Where are we?
What does this look like to you?
Adelaide. Okay.
SpaghettiOs, right? So do you think for 1 second that I was allowed to eat SpaghettiOs growing up?
No, nothing in a can.
No.
Yeah, that's why he didn't even know what it was.
I didn't. I was looking. I'm like,
Do you
I
know
knew.
what abuse I suffered if I dared pick up that can in the supermarket?
And be honest, it's good.
Come on.
It's not bad.
Come on.
Every once in a while.
when you grow
Have
up,
you had it? Don't say
when
it.
you grow up first, I'm not a food snob, honestly. I like to eat a lot of different stuff. I like some ramen noodles.
I agree. Listen,
he won't eat street
I
meat.
love ramen noodles. In college, eating ramen noodles, but you're not eating pasta out of a can.
No, but it wasn't the point of like, yeah, of course it's not good, but like when you're little and you're first generation Italian American and you're not allowed, I wasn't allowed to have a microwave. I had to go to Enzo Cristino's house 5 blocks away to use a microwave. And I was obsessed with that stuff. I want the kids' cuisine microwaved. Are you kidding me?
The brownie was
I would
great.
have sold my soul for that brownie.
Oh, do they still have it?
I never
I
had
never had it.
Now I want
didn't
kick
have a
cuisine.
microwave
Good
growing
for
up.
you.
Like-
Good for
Never
you.
had it.
The TV dingers, they would have like the cherry cobbler,
Hungry
the
Man?
brownie.
Oh.
It was the best part was the dessert.
What would you feed a hungry man?
It was amazing.
See, because Italians think that if you love your family, you cook for them. You don't give
Yeah,
them something
they would cook
frozen.
for me.
But like I wanted
30 seconds
no,
later.
but it wasn't about that. It was about that I grew up in such a way where I never felt like I belonged in. I had one foot in each country because we spent 3 months a year in Italy since I was little. And you never really felt like you belonged anywhere. I always felt too Italian for Americans and too American for Italians. And, till I was 5, I didn't know English because all my friends were Italian too, like children of immigrants. So I didn't know I was in America. And I wanted to like eat this stuff. and experience the stuff so that I could go to school and have something to say to Jennifer Smith. Okay? Could you imagine? Like, I'm sitting there at lunch with my oily bag with
Way
the
to
tuna
stereotype
sandwich. Oh, come on. You know the tuna sandwich.
You were in Brooklyn. Be honest. It was Jennifer Weisberg.
We were not friends, okay? We were not friends. With my oily bag with the tuna salad that covered your apple and your can of Fresca.
It was a disaster on the brown bag.
But I'm half Jewish, half Italian. My grandparents lived across the street from each other, Walston Court, 66th Street. Literally, the houses looked at each other. So we called my grandmother grandmother. She wasn't Nonna, even my Italian one. We would go there, eat Sunday dinner, delicious. Then you go to my Jewish grandma, she'll make you pasta with ketchup. And I'm like, Grandma, what's that? She's like, no, this is pasta. I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, I'm going. So I would visit my Jewish grandmother. I would never eat there. I would be like, I'm going to go visit, Rosebud across the street. I would go across the street. She's like, well, I'm just going to go say hi, go eat, chicken cutlets and come back. You hungry? No, I'm not hungry. She's like, how are you not hungry?
Even desserts, though.
So you could be like me. I would be trying to force me, or brisket with ketchup. Everything had ketchup.
Ketchup. We weren't allowed to have ketchup.
Ketchup's delicious.
I
do love
ketchup.
not on spaghetti.
No. The American condiments, my parents were not down.
Okay, now you're not a food snob.
No.
Meatballs Hero from Subway. Yes or no?
I mean, I'd eat it.
Have you eaten it before?
No, I've never eaten it.
It's
I
actually
had the same answer.
It's pretty good.
You yelled at me when I said that.
It's like it reminds me of like school meatballs. They're not good, but they bring me back to school.
There is such a thing as bad good.
Yes,
You know,
100%.
there's a
Like
taste.
White Castle?
Yeah, like there's a
That's
there's-
delicious. No, that's just
There's
good.
an artificial taste that is undeniably delicious
Taco
at
Bell.
times.
I'd eat Taco Bell all
But
day.
the thing
I
about
love Taco
the SpaghettiOs that's so special to me is that, like, after begging my Nonna for so long, she finally gave in, and she was like, I'm going to reverse engineer this. I'm going to figure this out.
Do they have the small meatballs
Yes.
too?
Yeah, and
It
she,
even said with tiny meatballs.
she
Oh,
rolled
it's-
out hundreds of tiny meatballs for my spoiled ass. Like, she really, it was a labor of love.
I'd
for
rather
her.
have yours than the SpaghettiOs, but
Yes, of course. But it was a way to, like, bring the two cultures together.
do you have a beef ravioli? Because I love beef ravioli. Is that in there as well?
You just passed the
Ravioli on
ragu.
this one? In my holiday book, I have a really good ravioli recipe.
The
From
beef
Northern Italy.
ravioli, just like
You don't have like an
the
also
Chef
make
Boyardee.
ravioli in there?
No, they're not the Chef Boyardee style, but this is actually amazing.
This looks fantastic.
Short rib ragu.
All right, can we please close the book? Because
Yeah,
I'm getting
I'm
really
sorry.
hungry.
I
And
want to compliment the wallpaper. Too. All of this is fantastic, man.
That's how it should be.
Such a generous.
I
What
know
is
it's-
the next iteration, or what's the next year hold? So you gave us the backstory. What do you think year 20, the rest of 23, 24?
I mean, I'm just really committed to expanding my private label line next year. I mean, we're kind of shooting for the stars at this point. Like, we want to have our own panettone. I want to have my own pastina after Pastina
Yeah, I was
Palooza
gonna say,
just happened.
you need that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about, also from a marketing perspective, it was so crazy that, I'm a little neurotic sometimes in the sense that, like, I'm like, oh, nothing ever works out for me. I'm unlucky sometimes, but we were already selling the pastina box on our website, like a pastina kit.
Yeah.
With several different cuts of pastina. So if you're one of those people who thinks that only those Ranzoni tiny stars are pastina is a genre of pasta. It is literally the word means the diminutive of pasta.
Oh, I didn't know that. So
Yeah,
Just
so
the tiny
yeah,
pasta.
it just means any tiny pasta. So don't come for me and say your box doesn't have any actual pastina in it. It absolutely does. So we would sell a few different cuts like the acini di pepe, the orzo, the stars. And we would sell like the broth cubes. We have a spoon that says my pastina spoon. And when Pastina Palooza hit, when Ranzoni announced that they
big
were
news.
no longer making pastina, we saw, I mean, I gotta send them a present.
my
Because
son cried. My
It
son
was-
cried.
yeah, it's
What are you gonna do?
Oh, pastina is one of the most, like,
comfort food defined.
Yeah, I mean, you don't. Is there anything more iconic for Italian Americans than pastina?
But that was the best part of my kids growing up. And when they went starting to eat food, I was like, "Is there extra pastina with butter?"
Right.
Like, but is that the only way you eat it? No one puts sauce on it, right? It's always butter.
I make a tomato broth and it's delicious.
Put it in
It's
soup.
in soup,
That
right?
sounds
I
good
had it
too.
in soup.
I always have with just the
Yeah,
butter.
with butter, but I've had it in soup.
Pastina is the way like Italian Americans heal from something, whether it's a like an ailment or a broken heart.
Put it in the wound.
And it's also the way we like detox. Because like we go out to eat, we have a big dinner. It's like, tomorrow pastina. I
The
can't.
Windex for the Greeks.
Yes.
Same thing. Similar, very similar.
What's the best place for people to go and find your products?
All of our products are at bottegadellanonna.com. And we're still a small family business. God bless my father. He runs our warehouse located in Dyker Heights, and everything gets processed there. It's really a personal experience when you shop with us because I personally design everything. All our merch designed by me. All our products are selected pretty carefully. I really want to give people things that they're either looking for from their childhood or things that I think are really useful.
How big's your staff now?
Ooh, I think we have about, when it's like a full time like Christmas season, it goes up to about 8 to 10 people.
But crazy to think, right? All from an idea of you should cook with Nonna.
Yes.
That you have employees, a business.
And I mean, and also from a creator standpoint, a content creation standpoint, I mean, I was one of the first Nonna content creators, and now look how many there are.
Yeah, now
you
they're-
know,
they're all over the place.
I had this. I knew back then that like they have something special, and all the Nonnas are amazing. I love like how big Nonna Pia is, and how everybody that cooks with their Nonna. I'm just glad people are doing it because it's one of the most important things that you can do if you grew up the way we did, and it's one of the only ways that's going to ensure that the traditions never die.
You should have trademarked it.
So one of the things we like to do is impart value to people who are watching or listening, and we have you with us. What are some tips, words of wisdom, something you can share with the audience, whether they be content creators, marketers, or even in the food industry? Because a lot of what you've done doesn't apply necessarily to food. You're talking products, you're talking, like Mike just mentioned, employees, a business model. So any tips, tricks, something you could recommend for people who are out there starting on social media or looking to embark on the journey?
I just think it's important to know your audience and get to know them if you don't already, and understand what it is that they like and what it is that they want. So like I said before when we were talking, when I see a product that I have a good hunch about, I kind of try to work it into my life as an influencer first. So if it's something with apparel, I'll just like wear it, and hope somebody notices and kind of tease it a little bit. And then once I see, if somebody picks it out and is like, "Where'd you get that T-shirt?" I know right away.
Like your earrings, like
Yeah.
the earrings you're wearing. Like you throw them in there.
Yeah.
People respond, "Where'd you get those earrings?"
Right. Yeah.
Did you
No,
want
he's
to buy
asking you.
Or-
No,
oh,
he's
where'd
asking
you-
you. Where'd you get them?
Oh, I sell these. These are our Tarali hoops.
There you go.
Ink. Tarali.
You could buy them right now for Kevin,
Yeah,
right
I
off
mean-
her ears.
But
There you go.
but
They're
it's
valuable.
like,
They're worn, signed. Forget about it.
I don't know how valuable they are with my body heat on them. But it's even like a knife, a really great knife that I believe in, or a really great anything, ravioli cutter. I use the products in the videos, and I see how interested people are.
It's great. It's great. Well, listen, we really appreciate you coming down here.
Yeah, thank you for
have
having
a
me.
fantastic story, loving family. Like everything is, again, gorgeous. This is a piece of art.
Thank you.
Everything that you're doing out there is really great. We appreciate you. We want to sign off right now. Rossella Rago, where again? one more
Rago.
time. Rago.
Rago.
I told you, I'm Rago. Is that it?
Yeah.
Rossella Rago.
Yes.
Okay. I have a speech impediment because I'm from Chicago.
From Chicago.
You also think your pizza's better.
I don't think it's better. It's a
Another
different
story.
animal.
Another story.
So anyhow, signing off, Rossella Rago. Thank you for coming with us. Cooking with Nonna, Sunday dinners. Check out the new cookbook. Mike Bloomfield,
Thank you.
Anthony Rapp.
Thank you for being with us. Guys who are listening and watching, don't forget to like, follow, or share M Squared. Comment in the comment box. Do not forget to follow Rossella at cookingwithnonna.com and give me all your handles.
I'm at Rossella Rago, 2 S's, 2 L's, everywhere.
2 S's, 2 L's.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Any parting words?
Thank you guys. I always love Staten Island, no matter what anyone says about it.
Liverpool.
Shots fired in the compliment. That's a wrap.
M Squared. I'm Dan Ryan.
What's more Italian than a backhanded compliment?